Yo,
Yo, what's up?
nothing. I'm just setting up the headphones again because I had to charge them, and now they're not wanting to connect to the laptop because now they're charged.
Okay. So I kind of have an idea to make this a bit less stupid, like
Sure.
because I'm gonna talk to Matt tomorrow. I was thinking maybe we could do the Eastern Conference, and then like we could obviously mention your picks for the West, but we can dive more. Like I can go with Matt, you or East versus like we can kind of do something like that, so that we're not sitting here talking for 45 minutes and then I do the same exact thing. Like we just kind of, we go in deep on the Eastern stuff or Western, whichever one you want, and then I can kind of, focus more on the other four series with him, and then we can kind of go in depth on those, and then I'll get his thoughts on the four that like we do, something like that maybe. Or I don't know. I mean, I figure that would make it quicker too.
Well, I was thinking either of that. I was trying to be on for like 25 minutes. Like I was kind of just gonna
Yeah,
run through
that's
my shit really quick, and then you guys can do what you want tomorrow. Like I'll just talk a lot, and I'll just like say my side of things, and then you could just kind of like bounce back stuff. Like I'm gonna be quick,
okay.
kind of. Like I didn't really want to stay on for more than like maybe 30 minutes.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
I'll stay heavy on the West because he likes the oh shit I gotta turn that off. But he likes the Rangers. I'll let him take the East.
true.
So I'll stay like heavy on the West, and then more DFS stuff, and then from like all the games. But I'm thinking 30 minutes tops.
Okay. um,
But I'm pretty much just ready to go.
okay, yeah, then I will bring us in and I'll kind of explain the situation, why it seems so ragged and
Yeah,
put, Um, so I'll I'll throw it to you after, after I say like everything that happened and yada yada, and then you can say whatever you want, and then we can get going. But
sure.
okay, so let's see. We are streaming. I made it so that we stream live to YouTube now. So like someone could watch us if they want, but I don't really care about that.
Yeah. No, I know.
um, so should be good. I really don't think anything will happen again. But okay, um, let me leave some dead air. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special playoff edition of the Morningscape podcast. Take two. Um, I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell, and we're gonna go over the series that we have in front of us. Unfortunately, um, well, I guess fortunately for us, we were joined by a guest, Matt Riegler, on Monday night to record, a massive pod with all three of us just having a grand old time. But the file got erased or something when my computer crashed, and we lost that to the other world. So, um, yeah, as I said, I'm here with DJ. So what we're gonna do is we are going to cover a lot of the DFS relevant stuff and primarily focus on the Western Conference. And then when we get Matt on a bit later in the show, um, it'll just be me, Matt, and we'll talk primarily about the Eastern Conference stuff. So I apologize for any, you know, uh, I guess jaggedness in terms of how the segments interact with each other, but we're really disappointed that we couldn't get last night's pod out to you guys. So on that note, how you doing, DJ?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I mean, it was a great podcast. I mean, we probably went way longer than some of you may have been able to handle, anyways. I still think this is a conspiracy that Matt made a pick that he didn't like and decided to delete the whole thing to do it again. I'm still kind of thinking that's exactly what happened, but um, is that what happened? I'll just ask.
All right. Well, you see,
I caught you.
the thing about the Maple Leafs is that I've been a closet Maple Leafs fan my whole life. So when I said that Washington was going to win in 3 games, yeah, I didn't mean that. Toronto in 4.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought. I thought, and another thing is that No, that was the main one. I was gonna kind of go off on that and say like you picked. I was gonna say you picked Toronto though, but you kind of went the opposite way. No, anyways, though, yeah. So it was a fun show. We had a lot of good talk going on. But I just feel bad that we might not get this out to everyone by the time the series start. It should be cutting it pretty close, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably be listening to this either Wednesday night or Thursday morning, depending on when you download your podcast. So, yes, you might have already heard game one of some of these series or watched. So, like, obviously, we don't know what's going to happen. So, keep that in mind when you are listening. It is Tuesday night as we record this. So, all right. So, where did you want to, I guess, pick back up and or start?
I mean, I guess I was gonna kind of do the Western Conference as our guest is a Rangers fan, so I thought he'd want to kind of touch on that series and that game a lot more because he watches every Rangers game. So, I guess we can start with the West and we'll just kind of go game by game, series by series. Does that sound good to you for starting?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we'll just kind of run through the East quick and touch on all of the DFS relevant stuff along the way, but kind of quick for the East.
Yeah, for sure. We can do that.
I mean, honestly, like it's kind of just gonna work out how it works out. Let's just do our best here. Obviously, you never plan on your podcast getting deleted and then having to slice together two different podcasts into one super podcast. That's what I can call it. But here we go. So we're gonna start with Chicago versus Nashville. Also, there's some background noise. Is that on your end, or should I try to fix something on mine?
It might be the air conditioning, if we're being honest.
Yeah, that does kind of sound like that. See, what I realized is, I have 3 USB outlets on my laptop, and one of them makes the microphone work the best, but that's the one that it cuts out on sometimes, so I got to keep an eye on it. And then the other one sounded like garbage last time, so. And then the other one, it like doesn't work at all. I don't know why. It sounds better now. You there? Well, it did sound good. Hello? We lost Matt. Moody, you there?
Yeah. Okay.
I
I was trying to fix my mic and I accidentally unplugged it and just a mess. We had such a good show and just a morale hit.
Yeah. But we'll just get back into it here. I'm sure you can edit that last part out. Ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
Three,
We're good to go.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right. Yeah, we just had a little technical difficulty there, but I think we're back now. Hopefully that doesn't sound terrible. Just more editing for Matt, so I don't really care. But we're gonna start with Chicago versus Nashville. This is definitely. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So we're gonna start with them, and I mean, this is a series that, I mean, it's kind of the 1 seed versus the 8 seed in the West, and I just feel like it doesn't have that same vibe to it. Like a lot of people are looking at Nashville and definitely considering them. I would say Chicago, for how many points they had, it still feels like they had a down year. Just like it just feels like their team isn't as strong as it was in the past. I guess that's a way better way of putting it. I love Nashville. I want Nashville to win this series. I wish they'd just sweep them. I want PK Subban to just have the series of a lifetime, and that's kind of like my personal take on it. Do you have a personal feeling on it that you want to start with, or do you just want to dive right into it?
I mean, it's so tough. I did want to point out first off that every single ESPN NHL person, I believe there was like 10 or so that
Yeah,
they polled.
I retweeted that.
All picked the Blackhawks, and it's certainly like I honestly do think the Blackhawks win this series, but I don't think it's as obvious as it seems to be made out to be. So, um, yeah, I mean, I just think that when you have 3 superstar players in Kane, Panarin, Tays. You have a number 1 defenseman in Duncan Keith who's really good, and then 2, 3 guys in Brent Seabrook and who do things really well, but also are really deficient on the other end of the ice. It's I just don't see this team having anywhere close to enough depth to make a run.
Yeah. No, I do feel like it's two teams that not many people are counting into the Cup Finals, if that makes sense. But we can kind of just take the DFS side of this really quick. The one good thing about the podcast going down, kind of, is that a lot more lines came out for different teams, and we got more news to bring into this podcast. Last time we were kind of guessing on a lot of things, and now I think we have a little bit more clarity. Um, so I feel like both these teams, though, it's kind of exactly what you expect. With Anisimov returning, is that official now?
I I believe so. I actually
Yeah,
think it
last
is
I checked, I
official.
thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. He says he's ready to go. So, um,
Now, did you see anything from the Nashville side as far as lines today? Because I'm actually looking now and I'm not seeing it. Do you have,
saw them yesterday. Um,
okay,
the
I'll pull them up as well.
Yeah, they had their top six. It was Forsberg, Johansson, and Arvidsson, and then on the second line they had Neil uh, and Fiala, centered by Mike Fisher. So
I like that look a little bit more for sure. I think that really sets up nice for Neil. Um,
yeah, it's I think that we talked about James Neal as a DFS. I think he's kind of a hidden gem, especially on DraftKings in this series. Um, and my reasoning was because James Neal is just he's too good to be mid 5K, and he's on the power play one, and playing on a depth line for Nashville, like he's gonna get some really soft matchups. Like he's likely going to avoid the Keith and Chalmerson pairing, and probably Tays as well. Like, so I think that there's a lot of intrigue there. Um, but as maybe we'll touch on, I'm not sure, but your start guest. So um, we had Matt Riegler on. He writes for Roto World, which is the NBC fantasy affiliate, and he's just a really, really good guy, really sharp dude. So, we'll talk to him in a bit and get his thoughts, but we kind of have those in the back of our mind as we record right now. And what he
yeah,
said is that James Neal was a bit too dependent on a playmaker. That he didn't think he was overly fantasy relevant. So, which side of the coin do you think you fall on there, DJ?
as far as James Neal, is that what you
Yeah,
said?
yeah,
I do think he can be a little bit dependent, but I feel like he has his best games when he's kind of the focal point of shooting. I mean, that's kind of obvious and apparent, but I think on the line with Fisher, that's really going to help him. Like, I think Fisher's a bit underrated as far as a setup man in general. Um, so I do like the look of that, but yeah, I feel like Neil when he gets, I think, yeah, I don't know. I think that's just because he used to be with Crosby, and like that's kind of like what he got associated as being like Crosby's guy, kind of like you set up Neil like Crosby to Neil. That was kind of a thing, and now he does not have the same stats, but I don't know. It's really tough to say because this year he did do really well on a line with Fiala and Yonkrock, who you would not say were by any means studs. So that's really 50-50 to me. It really is like a coin toss, like flip, like you said. So
yeah. And I mean, I think what he is this matchup. I do think that the Forsberg line is going to struggle a little bit against Chicago. I have Chicago winning this series in I want to say seven, maybe six though. Like I just don't feel great about Nashville, but where I do like James Neal is as a one-off play because he gets you that power play one exposure, as well as not being reliant. If let's say Philip Forsberg scores a goal, odds are it's going to be assisted by Victor Arvidsson playing with him at 5-on-5 and the power play, and Ryan Johansson can come in there too. So with so few games to choose from, most people who play Nashville 1 are going to play multiple players from that line. So if you only roster one of them, you're actually falling behind a bit in GPPs when one of them scores. So that's kind of my take on James Neal. So let's talk about the Nashville side here, though, because we do have a loaded defense corps with
yeah.
Roman Yossi,
Oh, sorry.
PK Subban, Ryan Ellis, and Matthias Ekholm as four defensemen who are downright good, if not great.
Yeah, that's where I think Nashville really sets apart, and that's why I'm taking Nashville in 7 in this. Their defense is just better than Chicago's, straight up. I have no problem saying that. And I know if you look at the goalies, you look at them one on one, like Crawford, Rene, eh, either of them, obviously, I think could have that great playoff series and stand on their head. But both of them definitely have their flaws. Last year, Nashville put up a beating on Crawford. They had to put in Darling, and that could happen again. But I do think if I had to pick, I'd give the edge to Crawford, but I think that Nashville's defense can make up for Rene's lack, and I think it's going to come down to Game 7. Who could maybe put in that last goal. Um, but neither team has great depth past the second line as well. I think it's a really even matchup, but I'm going to side Nashville in 7 with their stout defense. I mean, I'm thinking those top 4 you named all get above 20 minutes for sure, maybe up to 22 each.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely dig that. So I will still stick. I do think that Chicago, they haven't been as good as their record indicates, but I also think that Nashville's been a bit of a letdown. This season they had really high expectations and simply didn't even really come close to meeting them. And, with Chicago having been there, done that, and Nashville, I mean, still not really seeming like they have the right chemistry or, whatever you want to say. Like, the talent's all there. With that defense we've talked about, like, their numbers, especially over the last month or two of the season, are very similar. So I agree with DJ. I think this comes down to a coin flip, but I just think Corey Crawford is a borderline elite goalie. Not quite on the tier of
Fake news.
Holtby and Bobrovsky, but I just think that he's been incredible for them this season, and I think that I think he'll far outplay Pekka Rinne in this series. That said, my hot take for the series is that Mr. Carrie Underwood is going to score an overtime game winner yet again after he did in Game 6 in Smashville last year.
You want to say who that is really quick for anyone that doesn't know?
It's Mike Fisher.
Just making sure. I mean, like if someone's listening to like Mr. Underwood, what is it? No, you're right though. So yeah, I mean, my hot take last show that we did yesterday was that PK Subban would have. I think I decided on 5 points in this series. Like I think he's going to smash. Yeah, I was really debating between 4 and 5, but 4 isn't really that hot of a take. So I love PK Subban, and I think he can explode in the playoffs. Like he's just kind of. It might just be the swagger about him that just gets me excited for the playoffs or whatever, but I don't know. I'm going with him. And I also wanted to point out that in this series, it's on hockeyviz.com. They ran the prediction before the playoffs start, and it's 50-50, like total toss up from Michael Blake McCurdy. So yeah, like I think it's a lot closer than some people are going to think, and I'm going with the coin flip Nashville, and it might just be because I want them. But let's move on to the second matchup. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
So we got the St. Louis Blues and the Minnesota Wild. I feel like everyone's kind of on the Wild side, including myself. I don't know if it's the lack of depth that you see in St. Louis now after trading Shattenkirk. After I mean, all year it was kind of like a lot of young guys coming up on upper tier lines and trying to make something happen. And Barbashev definitely worked out, but I just don't see it from this team, and I can't see them finding ways to beat Minnesota's stout defense and Dubnyk, as our guest called him, the brick wall of St. Paul, was it? Or the wall of St. Paul?
I'll ask him about it, but I believe it was.
Yeah, you guys can. I don't want to steal his thunder too much here, but yeah, I can't see it. So I'm definitely thinking Minnesota, and I think I have them. Yeah, I have them in 5. So what are your thoughts on this? And then we can get some DFS stuff.
Yeah, so Minnesota really struggled down the stretch, and so I think this story kind of has 2 parts because the first part is I love Minnesota. I think they're just an incredible team. They're incredibly well coached, and what makes them so good is that they can play about a 50-50 horsey game in terms of like raw shot attempts on net. But they have the talent and they have the system that their chances are of extremely high quality as measured by expected goals, and the shots that they allow are simply like almost like they're just very, very, very low danger shots. So even over the past 20 games, where Minnesota just almost fell apart down the stretch, they had the league's fifth best offense at 5-on-5 in terms of expected goals, and they had the league's best defense by a country mile. So that's part one of the story. Part two of the story, though, is that Devin Dubnyk was downright terrible. I don't really know what to make of it because I don't think he's a great goalie, but I think the reason he looks so great early in the season is because of that system. But if he's not playing, even as a league average goalie, then that's going to be really tough to swallow. So that said, I do like Minnesota in this series, though. I think I have them in 5.
All right, yeah, I don't mind that. I think that's exactly what I just said, so obviously I don't mind that. We did get their power play units from practice. We had Niederreiter with Koivu, Grunland, Pominville, and Spurgeon on one unit. Parise, Dumba, Suter. So I think like if you're looking for stacks, like Stahl, Parise, Suter. Actually, Coyle's on that line as well, correct?
Yeah.
Matt? I barely heard you there, but yeah, I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah, he's on the power.
No, it says but so Niederreiter, Stahl, Parise is the line one though, so it's not a full line stack as far as the power play goes. Niederreiter's up on that top unit, so that definitely is like it's pretty random. I don't know how to describe it. It's like I feel like it's stick to your process no matter what. I think we talked about that a lot in the last show. Like don't think like it's the playoffs now. I gotta get away from everything I've done and learned in the regular season. Like games mean more. The players are. I think they always go hard, but you know what I mean. I think I think I'm kind of ranting about something we should talk about at the end. But Barbashev was on the top unit, but didn't Stastny between Tarasenko and Schwartz? But didn't Stastny not skate for some reason, or is he hurt?
Stastny's been hurt for the last few weeks. So
yeah, but like, is he coming back? Do we not know?
I believe he's expected to return at some point in the playoffs, but I don't think it's anytime soon. So okay. I would expect. I mean, what you were touching on is Ivan Barbashev is centering Tarasenko and Jaden Schwartz for the time being, and I think in equally kind of important news, the power play 1 for St. Louis is Pietrangelo, Tarasenko, Schwartz, and Steen, but Vladimir Sobotka is back in the NHL. He is the bare minimum on DraftKings, and he is on the power play 1. Like, that seems outstanding, and it's honestly kind of, it's really disappointing that they have to go up against what I think is the league's best defensive team in Minnesota, because Barbashev and Sobotka make for fantastic value options on any time they play.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we touched enough on this series. We're both going Minnesota in 5 here. Are you ready to move on to the battle that should have been Alberta, or I guess I was hoping for the Battle of Alberta, and the Battle of California with 2 kind of rivalries, but we still get a pretty good. I would say 2 teams that are definitely pissed off at each other in the Anaheim Ducks versus the Calgary Flames. It was the Giordano hit on Cam Fowler that knocked him out, probably for game 1, if not more. So a good matchup, a fun matchup. Yeah, I don't. So I know. It's out game 1 at least, but go on.
Before we talk about this too much, let's do our hot take for the Minnesota-St. Louis series.
Oh yeah, we did do our hot take. Do I remember my hot take?
I believe mine was that.
I know mine.
Niederreiter would have a 6-point series. Niederreiter, the last time we saw him, well, not the last time, but probably my favorite, Niederreiter moment is his Game 7 absolute just rip of a wrist shot into the top corner against the Avalanche to take it in overtime. I still remember where I was watching that game, and I'm not even a Wild fan. Like, it was just one of the more impressive individual efforts I've seen in the playoffs, and it stuck with me. So I think Nino's going to find the magic again, playing on that top line, top power play, and I'm going to be riding him hard in DFS, let me tell you.
All right. My bold prediction was that Parise would have a hat trick in one game, in Minnesota. So I think he's really going to come out in the playoffs and perform well. You know, he's a Minnesota boy. I know that doesn't really matter that much. Like, don't read into it like it's gospel, but he's really fairly priced, and I definitely am leaning towards him.
I like it. I think Parise's been struggling this season, like in his points, but the expected goals numbers are kind of there for him. Um, so you know,
Sorry, someone was at my door. Can you say that again?
um, yeah. So like Parise struggled for most of the season in terms of points, but the individual expected goals numbers he put up, even though they kind of trended downwards towards the end, which is ironic because he put up I think 11 points in the last 11 games, they were still like top 20 in the NHL. So I think that he's poised to have a really big series. Um, so
Thank
yeah,
you.
I do like that take as well. The Stahl Parise Nino line, just I think they're gonna smash.
All right. Well, I already introduced the next series, so I don't have to do it all over again.
For sure.
But I definitely think that at first glance, this series might look like it's all about Anaheim. You know, it could be a bit of a blowout. I think some people might just kind of perceive that, but I think it could be a lot closer than people think. Um, but I do want to point out that Anaheim's, you know, they're just such a good shutdown offensive team, but missing Fowler really hurts them enough to where I think it's going to be a series. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm kind of
Sure. I mean,
not putting it in the exact
I
words
think
that I want to, but it's so like
so.
they're
I
so
think
experienced and well like not with it like well trained and in shutting down teams. Kessler, Getzlaf, you know those guys, but their defense is so young now and inexperienced without Fowler, even with Fowler in some sense, that I think it's going to make this a lot more interesting.
so. What we were worried about going into uh, this playoffs was one, Cam Fowler. We got news he's out from between 2 to 6 weeks, which means I
Ooh.
believe anywhere from like next Tuesday until pretty much the end of the playoffs. So what that means though is that he's not going to play right away, and Patrick Eves was the other question mark as he left their season finale.
Yeah.
He is back. He will play game one, and we have their power plays. Um, Shea Theodore at nearly minimum salary on both sites is an outstanding offensive defenseman prospect, and he's playing the power play one on the unit with Getzlaf, Kessler, Silverberg, and Eves. So Shea Theodore, I think, is this playoff season's Ryan Pulak, who for the Islanders last year was an AHL call up, ended up taking over Nick Leddy's power play one role because he had an absolute cannon of a slap shot. And one of my favorite, well, easily my favorite game from last playoffs was when Ryan Pulak scored a goal. I believe he picked up an assist, had like a 6 or 7 fantasy point night, and won me a GPP. So having that value, like I think that Shea Theodore is going to be a lock in my games whenever Anaheim plays until Cam Fowler returns. And yeah, I'll let you talk about that. Then I'll talk about more of the macro environment of this series.
Um, more more about Theodore than you just said, or more about the series in general?
I was hoping to
Uh,
lead you to Brandon Montour.
Oh yeah. Oh okay. I was like, you just said so much about Theodore. Do you really want me to talk more about him? But yeah, I know both of these guys are just awesome prospects. Great offensively. They both see power play time, incredibly cheap. I definitely when I look at the playoffs and I think of lineup construction, I like the stars and scrubs approach. And if you can find a guy that's going to get that kind of exposure, 20 minutes with power play time on the point, at that much of a value, it'll really help you get those stars like McDavid who are going to get 25 minutes a night possibly. Guys like Kane and McDavid and Crosby who are going to be the driving forces and the guys that are going to really rack up points because they have to perform. They're going to be shooting the puck a ton. They're just great things that you have to note every single slate. Another guy that we'll get to is a guy like Charlie McAvoy, also 2'8". Like these three defensemen are kind of the guys right now on the point that you I think cash viable in the playoffs. But getting back to the series in general, we're gonna. I think where you're gonna look on the other side of it. Is it okay if I'm gonna switch over right now if that's all right? I think you're gonna be looking at the line two all day for Calgary in this one. The Backlund, Frolik, the Chuck line. I think that they don't. That they're just the better. Like they can outpossess some of the Anaheim Lions, and they might be able to have their way a bit more than I like Monahan, Gaudreau, and Ferland. And that's gonna be the popular unit, obviously. But I think that they're young, they're kind of undersized. That first line for Calgary, and they're gonna get bullied around a bit. While line two for Calgary is gonna be underlooked, not underlooked, underrated going into the playoffs, and it shouldn't be at this point. So that's kind of my hot take, is that the line two really outperforms the line one from Calgary. But overall in the series, I'm taking Anaheim in. Let me look what I wrote down. Anaheim in 6.
Okay. Yeah. So, Anaheim. If you listened to the majority of our regular season podcasts in March and February, they were putting up extremely high expected goals for numbers. And, they were playing well defensively. Like, not anything Minnesota Wild-esque, but good enough. And so I just think this team is really firing on all cylinders right now. And while Cam Fowler's loss, I think does hurt. Like, I'm of the belief that, like, Shea Theodore and Brandon Montour are absolutely capable of, stepping up and shouldering the load for these guys. So I really don't think, as long as they have Hampus Lindholm, I think this team will be absolutely fine, because they'll be able to shut down whoever they want. So
No, I agree though. I think Lindholm. Oh, sorry. Were you not done?
No, I was not done, because I just was going to mention that I think a lot of people are pointing to this series as like a slugfest. But to me, this is actually one of the more appealing series. I think for me, it goes Pittsburgh, Columbus, San Jose, Edmonton, and then this series, because so not only did these teams have just massive, brawling history this season. Like just last game, Mark Giordano was the one who knocked out Cam Fowler, but Ryan Kessler, the shutdown guy for the Ducks, has been playing at an exceptionally high pace all season. Like, not only is he creating a ton of offense, but he's also allowing it. So I think that the game stacks are going to be somewhat popular. I know you mentioned that you like it because if a game goes to 2 or 3 overtimes, you just pile up shots. And, I do think that Anaheim and Calgary will be a very interesting series and will be relatively up-paced as well.
No, yeah. As far as lineup construction goes, I mean, there is some merit to it in a GPP, just pretty much full game stacking, picking a goalie to win. And if it does end up going to a third overtime, like you are going to finish in the top 10 lineups. Like you're going to absolutely smash, but it's impossible to predict. I guess if you're a really high volume player, you can kind of pick every game on a slate at least once. If they're like, I mean, this would be what? There's 5 games on Wednesdays. So you could throw 5 full game stack lineups out there as kind of like, you're really going for gold there. But then again, you have to pick the goalie that wins in overtime to really, hit the nuts and probably win the GPP. A lot of risk, a lot of I can't imagine that's a super popular thing in the industry, but definitely something I would consider if you really like a game already for pace. I like Columbus Pittsburgh in game 1. Like if you really like that game already, I mean, don't get away from your strategy. Kind of stack that game a bit, and if it doesn't go into double overtime, and you I don't know if you have to pick the goalie, but it's definitely within reason. Yeah, I think I made my point there. But are we good on this series? Bold predictions, or did you not make your pick yet?
No, so I did not make my pick yet. I think that despite Backlund and the Goats, being in this series, I just think that Anaheim has 3 very strong lines. I think they have a good enough defense. Like I said, I really like their young guys. I think Hampus Lindholm is a boss. They also have 2 goalies who are playing the number ones right now. Like John Gibson got hurt, came back and was excellent. While Gibson was hurt, Jonathan Bernier, I mean, he was like first star of the month, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was money.
in February. So, what was that, DJ?
Oh, yeah, I just said he was money. Yeah, like he was crushing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, don't quote me on that, but he had like a 970 save percentage over like 10 games or something like that. So like they're both really hot right now. And I know that's, a bit of a, I guess, a qualitative statement, but I do think that that sort of has some merit going into the playoffs. And I'll stick to my guns. I think Anaheim wins this in 5, and I think they're going to the Western Conference Final too. I think they beat
Ooh.
whoever comes out of San Jose.
Did you listen to Biscuits today? Did you listen
I
to that
did.
podcast?
I did.
Yeah, so just one thing that they said that was really I found it really funny. I was actually like in the gym and I started like laughing a little bit. People probably thought I was crazy. But they said that, Randy Carlisle, he was the coach for Toronto when they were in the playoffs, correct? Is that what they said?
Yes, he was.
And he started Jonathan Bernier over Reimer in Game 7 against Boston when they blew the 3-goal lead. So they were like, it's going to happen again. Like, Gibson's going to have a bad game in Game 6. Bernier's going to come out. They're going to get a lead early, and Bernier's going to blow it. And then Randy Carlisle's going to throw him under the bus. Like, I was dying laughing. Like, I thought that was really funny. The narrative of that coming back to life. And I don't know. It's just like that was one of the funniest moments when Toronto blew that lead. And I wanted them to win because I hate Boston too. But yeah, that was great. That was just, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the better moments of my non-Buffalo sports fandom because there's been some good moments, but watching Toronto suffer is among the best.
Yes. All right. So we can move on. Oh, my bold prediction was that Raquel would have 7 points in 6 games and 4 of them being goals. Like I really love him in GPPs throughout every game. I think him with Getzlaf and Eves is an awesome pairing, and I think Eves is also a great play. Like both of those guys, I just think Raquel is going to be the one that buries the biscuit. But that is kind of contingent on what they do with the power play. You did see it, correct? What they ran?
Yes, I read it out one more time. It's
Yeah.
Theodore on the point with Getzlaf,
Yeah.
and then up front they have Kessler, Silverberg, and Eves. The second unit is what? I mean,
Why don't they put
What,
Raquel
DJ?
up there? I want Raquel
because
there.
they've been awesome.
Okay, but Raquel is
And,
awesome.
Let's see. I had the second unit pulled up, but Montour is on it, and Raquel was on it. So it
Yep,
was
that's it.
Raquel,
Lock
Richie, Matt, with I think Vatanen and Montour. So that's your power play angle.
No, I'm sticking to my guns, Raquel.
Okay. And I'll keep it somewhat basic. I think that Shea Theodore puts himself on the map in this series. Yeah, I mean, I just think that he is going to be an impressive player in the future. And, in glimpses so far, both past seasons and this year, it looks like he's going to be great. So I think that he has a great series. For 2.7, I'm not going to give you any point predictions, but I think that if you roster him in every single game they play, you'll be 100% thrilled with his performance.
Oh man, sorry. I was really just celebrating hard my DFS lineup for baseball because I have I have one. No, we'll talk about this after the show. Sorry, I just got really excited. Just wow, do I like one of my lineups to win? Like I'm probably not going to win, but like I love one of my lineups right now. Okay, back to reality here. We're going to our last game on the West, and then we're going to whiz through the East. We got the Edmonton Oilers and the San Jose Sharks. Probably my favorite series as far as watching goes. My favorite series, maybe tied with Columbus versus Pittsburgh. Those two are just really standing above the rest to me as like, I don't know. I think we've already kind of made the point enough, but I really, really want to like just go out on a limb and be like Edmonton. Like I feel like everyone's doing it. Everyone's like, I'm jumping on board. It's Edmonton. Thornton's hurt. Couture's hurt. Blah blah blah. No, can't do it. San Jose all day. And I think it's because Logan Couture, like he was injured. He got hit in the face. I'm sure he's recovered by now. Like it's not like he got an high ankle sprain or something that's going to affect his game. You know what I mean? And Joe Thornton, it was a leg thing, but he seems confident he's going to play. I do think Edmonton can give them a lot of struggles. I mean, Connor McDavid, I think I'm going to probably end up rostering him every night. Um, he is absolutely money. He's going to get a ton of minutes. But again, as another podcast stated, that would be Jeff Merrick, he's going to see a heavy dose of the pickle. Marc-Andre Vlasic is an absolute stud defenseman, maybe the most underrated in the game as far as just like shutdown goes. And I am just extremely excited to watch those two go up against each other. Vlasic's a great skater. He's not as good of a skater as McDavid, but he's a great skater. To just quiet Edmonton's top line enough to squeak out this series. But what do you think?
Yeah, so you touched on the injury situation for San Jose. Both Couture and Thornton say they'll be back, which is downright shocking because Logan Couture's mouth is so messed up that he's going to have, I believe I saw all of his teeth removed after the playoffs end, which just sounds like horrific. But even worse was, I think, that Joe Thornton injury. I mean, it looked so bad. It looked like his knee bent the exact opposite way that knees are supposed to bend, and he's 40 years old. So I'm downright shocked that they'll both be back and ready to go. But if they say they're good, I mean, I have no reason to, poo-poo them. Logan Couture last playoffs had 30 points in, a full playoff season, culminating in their loss to the Penguins in the Stanley Cup Final. But the only players in the NHL since the year 2000 to put up 30 points in a playoff series are both Crosby and Malkin in 08-09, and then Danny Briere in, I believe it was 09-10. So, Briere's historically one of the best playoff producers of all time, and obviously Crosby and Malkin are two of the best players in the game today. So, Couture does have that sort of past production. He hasn't been great this season, but that it's definitely something to keep in mind. Like, maybe they switch up his usage, and maybe he just plays a ton of minutes or something. So I really like him against Edmonton, where I believe they'll have either Hurdle or the Pavelski line out against McDavid, leaving Couture's line to kind of feast on the depth of Edmonton. Because my last point here is that, yeah, when McDavid's on the ice, Edmonton is a phenomenal team. But when McDavid steps off the ice, which he will for probably, 35 to 40 minutes a night, they're flat out garbage. Are you afraid of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins or Mark Letestu or Milan Lucic, DJ?
I mean, if I was in an alley, I would probably not want to run into Lucic. Like, other than that, no. Like, looking wise, I'm the most afraid of Lucic to get in a fight with. I wouldn't want to fight the guy. Like, he seems like he knows what he's doing. But no, like, I totally agree with you. There's no depth to this Edmonton team, and I think it's the same with their defense. Like, their defense is improved. It's fine. It's not good enough. Yeah, I think we pretty much made our point here. But if you had anything else to add,
I don't think so. Actually, I do want to mention that San Jose really struggled down the stretch, and so my playoff pick for this series is that I do think San Jose wins it. I think they win it in 6. But I will be interested to see, because San Jose was so bad down the, as I said, down the stretch. If they come out flat in game 1 and, McDavid walks all over them, they seem to have no answers for what Edmonton's speed can do, then I will absolutely, I might jump on board the bandwagon after just one game, because I simply think that San Jose is going to out-veteran the Edmonton youngsters, and not necessarily having been there, done that, but just knowing how to play, a playoff style of hockey where there's going to be less penalties. It's going to be called a bit looser, so their bigger bodies and ability to cycle will probably shine through a bit more. I just think that once Pavelski gets the puck down low, and once Burns gets the puck on the blue line, Edmonton does not have a single person who can match up with either of those guys in terms of stopping them offensively. So I like San Jose in 6, with my hot take being that one of these games goes to triple overtime and Connor McDavid plays like 50 minutes of time on ice because they're just going to ride him every other shift. And I think it's going to be just awesome to watch.
Yeah, I really don't remember my hot take. I'm like scrolling through trying to figure it out. So I'm just gonna make one up, I guess. Um, Gosh, like I really don't remember. Do you remember my hot take at all? I almost
Was it
I
Darnell
have no
Nurse?
idea. I didn't say anything about Darnell Nurse. But one thing to note, I guess, really quickly is that for the DFS slate on Wednesday, Pavelski, Couture, Marlowe, Thornton, and Hurdle are all centers, which is really weird. But that's just the way she's gonna go, I guess. And then I think your hot take had to do with something with Logan Couture, and I don't remember what it was. I think my hot take
No,
is
mine was honestly the 45 minutes in triple overtime game because McDavid's just going to
oh
get thrown
yeah,
to the ground.
that was yours.
Oh,
I'm
you know
gonna
what? I think you started to say something about Drake Kajula because he was playing on the McDavid line last game. So let me just point that out real quick. If you do look at the previous games lines, Pat Maroon sat out their last game of the year. So Drake Kajula played with McDavid. He will not play with McDavid in the playoff series, unless something drastic happens. So yeah, just keep that on the forefront because Kajula has that nice. I think it was a 6 fantasy point night.
Yeah, I think that I'm just gonna make mine up right now. I'm gonna say Martin Jones really outperforms Cam Talbot. Just has a great series, and I think he needs to, for them to really win this one. I don't think anyone's expecting it from him. He's kind of like kind of the under the radar goalie. He's 7,300 against Edmonton in Game 1. He's going to see a plethora of shots. Like definitely a decent value GPP type of goalie to take. I know they're on the road. Edmonton's gonna be rocking. It's gonna be a really fun game to watch, but I'm going with it. Like I'm just gonna ride it out. I'm gonna take it, and people can say whatever they want. I like Martin Jones. I think he's a really nice goalie there, and it was a really good find for them. But I think if we keep going for much longer at this pace, we're gonna basically be at an hour before you even get to our guest. So I'm just gonna whiz through right now, make my picks for the teams, and point out just really really super important notes. If that's okay.
Go for it.
So the first game, the thing I'm looking at would be Montreal Canadiens and New York Rangers. I'm taking Montreal in 6. I'm taking it solely on the basis that I think Cam Ward is going to just have an elite shutdown series and just find a way for Montreal.
You said Cam Ward?
Oh, yeah, Cam.
Carey Price.
Okay. I just remembering back to when the Sabres were in the Eastern Conference Finals and Cam Ward beat them and just I whipped my remote at the wall. And yeah, so Cam Ward, he's really no, I was kidding. As a Carey Price, I know I heard a stat of just how great he's been against the Rangers, which really doesn't matter that much, but definitely something to note just for fun. But he's going to come back after last time they played in the playoffs. Kreider ran him and all that drama. I think that they're gonna win it in 6, and I don't think there's anything super important to note from either team. McDonough's back and stuff like that, but I guess I'm trying to remember my bold prediction for this one too. I think my bold prediction was that Carey Price would have 2 shutouts, maybe. No,
potentially, or was it Alex Galchenyuk?
no, that was yours. You said Galchenyuk.
Okay, then you said Lehkonen.
No, I said something. No, that's not what I never made a bold prediction about Lehkonen. I said I liked Lehkonen and Galchenyuk, and then you went off about how great they blah blah blah, and I was like, sure, whatever. I was like, take it away. And
More to come.
I honestly feel like maybe I forgot to even make one, but whatever. Make it now. 2 shutouts for Carey Price. The next series I'm looking at here, if I can pull it up again. Actually, it's already up. I don't know why. Is Ottawa and Boston. We talked a lot about this series. I think it's a bold prediction right off the top that I'm taking Ottawa in 7. I feel like Boston's banged up enough. Carlo and Krug are both out. They might not even see a game in this series. I think Krug does end up making it back, but who knows? And that just really hurts them. I love Mike Hoffman all series, all day. I also feel like I made a goalie take on this one too. Like I almost feel like I made a not Carey Price. Oh my God, Craig Anderson reference. But now I definitely don't want to do that again. I'm gonna go with my hot take or not that hot of a take is Mike Hoffman carries his team with an overtime Game 6 win to bring it to 7, and then they win it at home in 7. That's just kind of like a really that's not even a hot take. That's just like a whatever. And if it happens now, then call me for all your Vegas picks. So next we have the Capitals and the Maple Leafs. Capitals are going to beat them in 4. I'm not worried about it at all. Toronto fans, like I probably have a negative bias towards Toronto being a Sabres fan, but it's not even that. Like Capitals are going to wipe the floor with them up and down the ice. They're going to out-possession them. They're just going to outplay them. They're going to out-goalie them. I think my bold prediction for this one, honestly, did we even I feel like we didn't make a bold prediction for this one. I feel like we just ranted about how lopsided we thought the series was going to be. I think your bold prediction was that Washington 1 and 3. Yeah, I don't think we did either. I'm gonna make one right now is that Austin Matthews doesn't put up a goal in the whole series.
Ooh, I love it.
Wow. It's honestly nothing against him. Like I don't think I think he's a great player, but I just feel like Washington's going to find it really shut down that line. He doesn't have the best mates with him, and he can't do it alone against his team. So there you go. Hot takes. Last one. Pittsburgh, Columbus. Oh, yeah. So Washington in 4. I didn't make that clear enough. But Pittsburgh versus Columbus. I'm going CBJ in 6. Bob Borowski, the officer, sheriff. There's a new sheriff in town. He is going to shut the door on the Penguins. They're not going to have it without Letang. This isn't their year. Columbus got, it was last season or 2 seasons ago? 2 seasons ago. 2 seasons ago, they got beaten by Pittsburgh. They're kind of the little brother team, and I think this is the time, and it's Oliver the GOAT Bjorkstrand's time to shine. He is obviously a big gamer as he returned championships to the city of Cleveland before LeBron James, winning for the Cleveland Monsters in the AHL Calder Cup last year. I don't think my bold prediction had anything to do with him. I honestly think something about Seth Jones. It could have been Bobrovsky, but bottom line is CBJ takes it to him in 6. They get the first one of the series. They get the next 2 back in Columbus. Game 5 in Pittsburgh to win it. They fold. Everyone's worried. Everyone's panicking, and they take it in Game 6 at home in CBJ. Bobrovsky with the shutout.
Okay.
That's Bobrovsky. Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's all we have for this segment. So stay tuned, and we will be right back with our guest, Matt Regal.